How's it going, fellow Detroit Red Wings fans? The draft just completed a day or two ago. Now we set our sights on July 1st. More importantly, free agency. Now, obviously, we have a lot of prospects coming up. Not that many roster spots available, but we do want to be competitive this season. So I thought we would take a look and see what players possibly could fit into our lineup, where and which would be good contracts for it to sign. For that, I thought first we'll look at, no matter what, locks to be in the NHL roster come opening night. And forwards, defensemen, obviously goaltending. And then we'll kind of project our lineup. This lineup will consist, UFAs are not signed, so Nicholas Cromwell, Thomas Vanek, and Luke Witkowski will not be in this lineup. And then next, we're going to look at what kind of players are needed in each position on the roster. Whether it's prospects, top stars, or depth, we're going to figure out what we need. And that will lead us to potential candidates to fill those spots. And now let's lead us to finally the free agents that we could possibly be signing. So without that start, let's look at the forwards. I think no matter what, Tyler Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, Anthony Mantha, Andreas Athanasiou, Frans Nielsen, Darren Helm, Luke Glending, Christopher N., and Justin Abdelkader will all be forwards that I see no matter what the Red Wings will have on their opening night roster unless they're traded away. There's also a lot of players that could fill in those spots with Taro Hirose, Jacob De La Rose, Michael Rasmussen, prospects Veleno, Smith, Kuffner, Svechnikov, and Zadina also competing for those spots. So, with the forward lineup, I could easily see the first line being left wing Tyler Bertuzzi, center Dylan Larkin, right wing Anthony Mantha. No missing spots on that line. The second line is where it starts to get hairy. The only player I have solidly in that lineup on the center is Athanasiou. Left wing and right wing are both open. I could see Hirose filling in on that left wing and Zadina filling in on the right wing, but for the moment we're going to call them open spots. Third line, the only missing spot I have is on the left wing. Michael Rasmussen could probably fit into that top 9 role. Center, I have Frans Nielsen. Right wing, I have Darren Helm. Fourth line, Justin Abdelkader on the left wing. Christopher N. Center, Luke Glending on the right wing. This leaves 3 spots open, 2 on the second, 1 on the third line. So for offense, I felt that the star position is definitely filled with Larkin, Mantha, Athanasiou, and possibly Zadina. So I don't think we need to go after any stars. Not to mention the only stars we could probably go after would be RFAs like Mitch Marner or any players like that. So I don't think they're going to make any plays at stars at offense. I could see depth. Second and third line, obviously there's 3 missing slots in that. I'm probably only going to say like 1 or 2 players at the most. They definitely want a prospect to be playing in that spot, especially because I think Zadina is probably NHL ready this season. Not to mention Taro Hirose played pretty well last season. On the prospect side, I don't think we need to sign any prospects. We got a lot of players in Grand Rapids. Not to mention we have a lot of draft prospects coming up, draft picks possibly being signed. You don't really know, but I think at the prospect level, we don't need to go after any free agents. Possible free agents for offense would be Chiasson. He played for Edmonton last season, played 73 games last season, scoring 22 goals, adding 16 assists for a total of 38 points. He is definitely a goal-scoring type. I would probably see him on the second line, maybe possibly switching out with Mantha if Mantha gets injured. He definitely would be a higher ceiling. He's 27, 28, I believe, so he's definitely heading into his prime and would probably require a little bit of cash, but he's definitely a free agent you could consider. Michael Ferland played for the Carolina Hurricanes last season, playing in 71 games, scoring 17 goals, adding 23 assists for a total of 40 points. This guy would definitely be on our third line with Frans Nielsen and Darren Helm, or any switch up at the third line. He definitely wouldn't sign for a lot. I could definitely see the Red Wings going after Ferland as long as the salary is correct. Next player would be Johansson. He played for Boston last year. This one, he might not make the free agency, but you never know. Boston's really uptight on that cap ceiling. Not to mention they have a lot of defensemen to sign this season. Last season, for Boston, he played 58 games, scoring 13 goals, adding 17 assists for a total of 30 points. He definitely would probably be in that same third, second line spot, probably more on the third line, especially if Zadina and Hiroshi go up there the second line. He would probably be a good depth scoring option. Not that we really need it. We're definitely not in playoff contention or anything like that, but it's a good thing to think about. Brandon Perry, he played 31 games for the Vegas Golden Knights last season, scoring 12 goals, adding 6 assists for a total of 18 points. Brandon Perry might be an underrated free agent. He only played 31 games, scoring 12 goals. I think he could definitely cross that 20-goal line. This will, of course, come down to salary. I think you can see a theme here. Pretty much all these free agents are going to come down to salary. Yzerman does not want to fill up this roster just for the point of filling it up. He wants some good players, but he doesn't want to fill it up for the wrong reasons. If he thinks it's a good deal for the Red Wings, then he'll make it. If it's just average or it's just okay, I don't think Yzerman's going to go after the free agent. But yes, the last one is Perry. I think he could be a high-end goal scorer. Maybe not. Maybe he'll be sent to the Grand Rapids Griffins, but is that much of a bad thing? That means the player can go down to Grand Rapids and one of our players can come up, giving a little bit more versatility if the Red Wings wanted to do that. As the forward side, but let's go through with the defensive side. I saw, no matter what, Mike Green, Filip Hronek, Danny DeKeyser, and at least one of Daly or Eriksson on this roster. We have prospects Bowie, Dennis Cholowski, Joe Hicketts, and Al Rakowski now all biting at the bit to get in the roster, not to mention Seider, who I don't think will, especially because he can play in the Grand Rapids Griffins organization. He probably will start the season in Grand Rapids at least, maybe stay there for the season. That's yet to see, though. So my lineup had Mike Green, Filip Hronek being the top pairing, Danny DeKeyser in the middle, on the left defensive side, an open spot on the right. I could see Dennis Cholowski filling in that role. It probably is more than likely, but you never know. And then the third line would have one of Daly and Eriksson filling in that spot. Possibly if one of them doesn't retire. I'm only counting one of them retiring simply because they're 35 years old and they had an injury-ridden season last season. Both of them did. So I think at least one of them is going to retire come next season. But you never know. Not to mention they could just be injured. So one of those guys could be out of the lineup anyways. I could definitely see any of our defensive prospects like Kowski, Bowie, and Hicketts easily jumping up, especially because Hicketts, he's no longer going to be on a two-way contract. So if we send him down to Grand Rapids, every team has a chance to take him. And I think a team will, just because he's probably going to be an NHL defenseman one day. When that happens, we're not sure, but I'm sure Hicketts will. He'll be a top 6 defenseman, a depth defenseman, probably like Nick Jensen, but either way, he will turn into a defenseman. I don't really see the Red Wings lying anywhere on defense other than their star position. I do think Dennis Cholowski is probably going to have that spot on the second line. We will see come opening night, but the only spot and only free agent I could see the Red Wings going after would be free agent Jake Gardiner. Jake Gardiner played 62 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs last season, scoring 3 goals, adding 27 assists for a total of 30 points. Jake Gardiner is a top pairing defenseman. Let's be honest, he's a younger defenseman. He will definitely fill in that top 4, top 2 role, kind of like Mike Green did when we signed him a couple years ago. Mike Green was a higher end defenseman when we signed him though. So I don't know if the Detroit Red Wings are going to go after him, but out of all of the free agency, I definitely only could see them going after Jake Gardiner. They don't need to sign another defenseman just to fill in the spot, and they definitely don't need to sign another defensive prospect to fill in that Grand Rapids organization or just for the foreseeable future. Unless it is just an insane defensive player, the Red Wings should not go after anything. The only thing they're lacking is superstars. Goaltending, this is going to be a quick one. Obviously, Jimmy Howard starting in net and Jonathan Bernier as backup. This really could go either way, but this is definitely going to be our goaltending duo come next season. The only prospect we have is Filip Larsson. We really don't need any stars. We're not at that level where we would need to sign like Sergei Bobrovsky. Jimmy Howard's fine in net, and Bernier is a good backup. I don't think we need anything depth. The only signing I could see at goaltending is a prospect. Something like Sateri and Rybar last season. Probably only one. I don't think they want to fill in Grand Rapids. They want Larsson to play a lot of minutes, at least a decent amount of minutes. He's a good prospect, so I do think they're going to develop him pretty well. But That's the only signing I could see, only because they might need another goaltender when Jimmy Howard or Jonathan Bernier gets injured come this season. You don't know if it will, but it's more than likely that it will. I don't know about any, but I'm sure the Red Wings are eyeballing a couple of them. So we'll see what they do come July 1st. But that is who I think they're going to go after. Possibly Jake Gardiner, Alex Chiasson, Michael Furlan, Marcus Johansson, and Brandon Perry. What do you guys think? What free agents should the Red Wings go after? What do you guys think of the free agents I suggested the Red Wings go after? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, lights out in the red light district.